Hi, JNM here with a new Blender 2.8 beginner tutorial for stylized modeling. I will show you in this one how to create a fence model that can be used, for example, as a game asset. So let's get started. This is Blender 2.81. I go to the edit mode and I scale up the cube in Z direction. I press the S key and then the Z key. Then I move it upwards by pressing the G key and then the Z key to constrain the movement to the Z axis. Press S again to scale and then G and Y to move it to the left along the Y axis. Okay, this is the first part of the fence. Now I press Ctrl and B to add a bevel. Move the mouse a little bit to add this small bevel for the edges. And to add some edge loops I press Ctrl and the R key and move the mouse wheel to add more segments. Okay, this is the first part of the fence. Then I select all and press Shift and D to duplicate this. And then I press the Y key to move it along the Y axis to the right side. While I move it, I hold the Ctrl key pressed so that it is snapped to the grid. Alright, this is a good start, and now I go ahead and add some variations to the topology of these meshes. So I go to Sculpt mode and then I press the G key to select the grab brush. Symmetry is enabled by default, so I go to the View menu, then activate the tool settings, and then I can go ahead and disable the X symmetry. Okay, and now I can use the grab brush to slightly change the positions of the vertices of this mesh. Just move them around carefully to add a kind of random modifications to the topology. I speed this up now a bit because I apply the same technique for the other part as well. Alright, this looks quite nice. Now for the parts in the middle, I again add a cube and scale it down in edit mode. I press the S key to scale it and I constrain it to the axis. For that I want to scale here for the X axis. Then I press G and Z to move it upwards. And then again S followed by the Y key to scale it till it fits. I also want to add a bevel for this, so I press Ctrl and B and move the mouse slightly after that. And then I add a few edge loops by pressing Ctrl and the R key and scroll the mouse wheel to add more segments. This looks nice, but too clean. We have to add again some random variations. I go back to Sculpt mode for this, and the grab brush is still selected. Then I move around the vertices to add these variations. Don't be afraid of the Sculpt mode here, no geometry will be added. With this brush you only change the position of the vertices. I speed this up now a bit, until I go again to edit mode, then press A to select this part, and then Shift and D to duplicate it. I move this new part downwards by pressing G followed by Z, and then I switch again to Sculpt mode to apply the same grab brush technique for this new part to make it look different than the first one. So you can see it's simple, but great fun to kind of sculpt this low poly mesh. But when we are done with this, I will show you how to create a completely different kind of a fence. Okay, so how about moving the parts at the outside a bit more to the center? So I select them and switch to edit mode. Press A to select all and then S followed by the Y key to constrain it to the Y axis and then move the mouse to bring it to the inside. The size of these is also changed, keep that in mind. Okay, then back to object mode and select the parts in the middle. And I want to have them a bit thinner, so I go to edit mode, select them by pressing the A key. Then I press S, X to constrain to the X axis and move the mouse. And then you can see how the size is reduced. Then I press G and X again to bring the parts to the front. Perhaps a bit more. Okay, this looks good. I think I will change the rotation of the lower part to add again more variations. I hover over this and press the L key to select it, then I press R and X, and then rotate it very slightly. The part at the top I bring a bit more down. Again, select it by pressing the L key, then G and Z, and move it downwards. Okay, I'm quite happy with this. We used a lot of shortcuts. They are extremely useful and you should learn them, but when you start with Blender, you can also use the tools and the gizmos. So let me show you how to use these instead of the shortcuts. So let's go back to this stage of modeling. We have the outer parts selected, and then I want to scale them and bring them to the inside at the same time. So I go to Edit mode and select these. And now I select the Scale tool from the toolbar and use the gizmo to bring them to the inside and scale them at the same time. This works because the pivot point of the mesh is at the center. Okay, now I want to scale the part in the middle, so I select it and go again to Edit mode. The Scale tool is still selected, and I can use the gizmo to scale it along the x-axis. After that, I switch to the Move tool and bring this selected part more to the front. Instead of using separate tools for Move and Scale, you can select the Transform tool as well, and then you can use a gizmo that combines Move, Scale and Rotate so that you don't have to switch between the tools. What I like to do is to use the toolbar and the shortcut keys in combination, so while I have a tool selected, I press shortcut keys to use other tools kind of in the background. Okay, the very last tip that I want to show you is how to avoid scaling of objects when you move them towards the center or towards a given point. Because as we did this for these objects, they are scaled. But if you don't want this, you could first separate these objects. To do this, I go to Edit mode and then select the right mesh by pressing the L key. And after that, I press P and choose Selection to create a separate object for this mesh. I go to Object mode then, I have two separate objects. Then I press F3 and search for Set Origin. First for this object I select Origin to Geometry, and then the same for the object on the left. Alright, now with both objects selected, I open the menu to set the pivot point. I set this to the 3D cursor, and then that's important, check Allow Only Location. Okay, and now I press S again and constrain it to the Y-axis. And when I bring these parts now together, you can see that they are not scaled. Okay guys, that's it for this part. In the next one I will show you how to turn this low poly mesh into a high poly mesh. If you are new to Blender 2.8 and you want to get started with this amazing program, I can highly recommend this course made by Zach Reinhardt, the Blender 2.8 Launchpad. It leads you from beginner level to pro, and it covers a lot of interesting topics like modeling, animation, lighting, rendering and many more. The link to the course is added to the description below. Check it out. In my opinion, it's one of the best and most complete courses for Blender 2.8 I've ever seen. Okay guys, that's it again. Thanks for watching this. Thanks for your support. If you'd like to support me as my patron, this would be great. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and if you have any questions, then add these to the comments below. I'll see you guys in the next one on JNM.